Fate Zero is a series that uses its various character perspectives to tackle multiple broad psychological and philosophical themes and their arising conflicts as a result. One of the most tragic and interesting characters in Fate is Kariya Matou. However, one important aspect to understanding Kariya is understanding Tokyomi Tosaka, Rin's father. Tokyomi can be summarized as a calm mage who is focused on increasing his family's wealth and status above all else. He skews the odds of the Holy Grail War in his favor and constantly plays with the rules. He has a pragmatic view as he sees everyone as tools, ready to be used to win the war. This pragmatic view causes him to believe that winning the war, attaining wealth, and teaching Rin magic correlates to the family's happiness rather than giving them attention and care. In a way, he believed he was saving them in this regard. Moving on to Kariya, before the war, he had left realizing that the Matou household and the life of a magus is that of suffering and tragedy. He had hoped that with his departure, this would end the Matou's role in the Holy Grail pursuit. However, Keria returns home and Sakura has been handed over to Zoken. This completely shatters his carefully constructed illusion that as long as he doesn't become a father, he can end his family's bloodline and Zoken will die eventually. Because of Keria's previous experience with Zoken and how he ruined his brother, he could not let Sakura go through the same fate. This feeling of wanting to save her is further amplified by the fact that she was under Ai's, or Tokyomi's wife's, care. He was subconsciously hoping to save Sakura and arrive as Ai's knight in shining armor. Here lies a striking similarity between Tokyomi and Keria. Tokyomi believed he was saving his family through his actions and ensuring their future, while Keria believed that his endless struggles and rash plans would save Sakura. Keria was an idealist, fixated on the idea of undoing what Tokyomi's perceived neglect had caused. The issue is that he did not consider the effects that this would have on Ai, whom he had loved. Both of their pursuits and attempts to save caused their undoing within the Holy Grail War. Keria wanted to save Sakura, but he did not consider the circumstances properly. His idealistic nature and firm belief that he had moral high ground caused him to lose grasp of everything and even believe that he deserved Ai as a reward. His poor mental condition and thought process caused him to be framed as the murderer of Tokyomi, and as a result, he incurred Ai's eternal hatred. Here his already strained mental condition completely collapses. His idealistic views are exposed as petty acts of him trying to pretend and feel like he's a father figure to Sakura. His mental state is in a disarray with emotions like spite, misery, pity, and jealousy. Spite against Zoken for his inhumane pursuit of power to win the war, misery due to his cursed fate of trying to do the right thing but always failing, pity towards Sakura whom he knows he cannot save regardless of how hard he tries, and jealousy towards Tokyomi for taking away Ai and neglecting her and his kids. Another important aspect to his character is his hate for Berserker. He has nightmares of Berserker choking him to death because he views Berserker as a reflection of his own deteriorating mind and proof that no matter what he does, he's going to die a bitter and miserable death. Even if he wins, he has to use the wish to save Sakura. He can't save himself. He's given up his own life as a last cause, and the more he realizes this, the worse his mental condition becomes, and the more inevitable his defeat. After Kariya has no semblance of sanity left, he's essentially become Berserker. He's completely delusional, and even attempts to kill Ai without understanding that it's her, simply to just shut the voice of dissent coming his way. The tragic part is that he isn't even hurting her out of spite or because he is mad he couldn't have her. He's hurting her because his ego is too fragile and his mental state is not ready to understand where she's coming from right now. A really interesting parallel here is how Tokyomi was Karia's scapegoat to blame all his problems upon, but in this scene, Kariya becomes a scapegoat for Ai to blame for the death of her husband and all the misery she's going through. The dynamic between the three of Tokyomi, Kariya, and Ai is very intriguing. As Tokyomi is spiteful and can't find faults in his actions, Ai is passive and often emotionless, and Kariya is stubborn and self-depreciating. He constantly looks towards someone to shift the blame towards because he doesn't want to accept the blame for something that was unfair to begin with. It is because of this unfairness that he can't relate or understand anyone who accepts Magus life. There are many similarities between them, and various parallels about how they attempt to do the same thing, but go about it in different ways. Ultimately, Kariya's unrelenting idealistic nature and lack of understanding of the nature of the war prevented him from seeing the danger of siding with Kirei and focusing squarely on killing Tokyomi. Essentially, he was chasing the admiration and love of Ai and Sakura, even though they were unattainable, and he himself knew that he did not have the power to claim the Grail. The tragedy of Keria lies in that he spent his whole life dreaming about a woman he couldn't have because of him being a Matou, but in the end, it didn't make a difference because her daughter suffered the same fate ultimately anyways. So not only was Sakura destined to the fate he was so desperately trying to deny, but he may as well have married Aoi in the first place since it was inevitable. Keria is a tragic hero, an abuse victim, and the man fighting a pointless war he knew he could not win in the end.